Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another segment of the Other Woman magazine, Facebook Live, and YouTube. My name is Lavender Shedrick Williams. I am the creator of the Other Woman magazine, which is published by Candy Publishing. Comes out 3 times a year, and on our Facebook Lives, we share and talk about some of the articles, some of the topics that are in the issues of the Other Woman magazine. And just know we will be going digital really soon. So if you haven't already liked the Other Woman Facebook page, and stay tuned for updates. We have a really good topic tonight. First of all, I want to acknowledge my sponsor, Attorney Robert C. Allen, in the Pensacola, Florida surrounding communities he does serve, Pensacola, Florida, and surrounding communities. So we're talking about aging tonight, and our guest is Dr. Sandra Gary Winborn. I'm going to introduce herself because Sandy's like a Judy of all trades. Dr. Winborn, some call her Dr. Winnie. She covers a lot of areas, and she will be a writer in the Other Woman magazine. I call her the word enthusiast. So she will be bringing something new to the Other Woman magazine with her Are You Stuck? Which is Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Facebook Live on her Facebook page. And I'm going to let her tell a little bit about this, a word from the word enthusiast. You will see her in every issue of the Other Woman magazine. I'm going to bring her on in a minute. But first of all, I want to read something about aging. Now, we have men and women who are watching tonight, and I want to share a little bit, just 2 or 3 sentences from an article that's in the current issue. It's titled Don't Let the Old Man Out by a regular contributing writer, Robert L. Congress. He says, aging is an unavoidable reality we all must face. However, aging gracefully begins with one's frame of thinking first and not how they view themselves from a physical standpoint. In today's society, many people are overly obsessed with finding the called elusive fountain of youth, only focusing on their physical well being and the single most important organ contained in the body, brain, also known as the mind. And with that said, I'm going to bring in our guest, Dr. Winborn. Hey, Dr. Winnie.
Hey, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited because tonight I don't feel old. Like I just want to tell you, I don't feel I have any age that I'm not being able to conquer so far. I'm feeling really up and good about the presentation and
Good.
the talk, just about the fact that I watched age in action. My mother was somebody who really brought about the whole concept of understanding age is just only numbers if that's where you get caught up on. Okay, don't get caught up on them because we never knew my mother's age until the year before she died. And my mother died at 3 weeks shy of 95. So I'm just saying, I'm not going to be caught up on it. I want to just say that I'm happy to be here. And let me talk a little bit about, the Are You Stuck thing. And I appreciate this opportunity. Lavender and I met years ago. I had to chase her literally around our church because she was just somebody that
You
just
love
kind of
that
elusive.
story.
I didn't know what was going on, but I felt there was a connection. I don't know why. And here we are years later shown by God that we have a connection. We have a connection to really help other women and men understand how life is. And sometimes for me, you get stuck, and sometimes you may find that you could be the other woman. And the other woman, that means that's a woman that turns. That's not the woman that necessarily worried about taking somebody's man. So that's not, when you first hear it, everybody
Yes.
gets, well, why would they have a magazine about that? No such thing. Okay. It's when we turn and we make a decision to do some things. I've turned many times. Okay. I am a person that has a lot of
Right.
energy. I thank God for that. The fact that I am my mother's spirit. I am my mother's desire to not only help, but to not only help others, but also help myself. So in doing that, I started this thing called Are You Stuck? And I looked at something, Lavender, and I remember you helped me with this. It was 2016 was the first Are You Stuck class I did, and we did it over at Tryon Library here in Pensacola. And we had a pretty good class. I think there
Yeah.
might have been 12 there that day. And I'm one for intimacy if I can get it, because a lot of times if people feel like you're right there with them, they get it because they believe that you're walking along with them, you feeling what they're feeling, and you're listening to what they have to say. So that's why I thought it was just so wonderful that I look back in something and I said, this has been going on a minute now. I've been doing Are You Stuck for 6 years, but look at how it's just, evolving and such
Evolved.
such a big thing. And Lavender encouraged me 2 years ago. She threatened me with phone calls continuously of, so when you're going to do it, I said, you know what, if I don't answer her, I'm going to have to fight her when I see her, so I might as well just say, I said, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, I was intending not to do it. I was trying to get her off the phone. How about she called back the very next morning? So what time will you be on? I said, I'll be on the day at 2 o'clock. And
Mm-hmm.
I went on.
Well,
I
you know what
wrote
you're
down.
saying goes along with aging because we can't keep
Right,
putting things off.
right.
We can't keep putting
Because
things off. Like,
we don't have
Father,
a
you
lot
will
of
be
time.
85 years old tomorrow. Exactly. If you're going to do something, do it now. What are
Do
you waiting for? And it
right.
just bothered me that you have all of this talent just bottled up inside of you, bubbling over, and you share it all with me. Don't keep sharing it with me. Share it with the world. So I'm
Yeah.
so happy. 6 years with
Yes.
Are You Stuck, and I just wanted to continue to expand, which is why you will be in every issue of
Oh,
the
that's
Other Woman
perfect.
magazine. And that
That's
goes with
wonderful.
age also, Sandy, to just keep going, don't
Right.
stop.
Right. And that's the exciting thing about even this opportunity to speak on this, because I've watched age in motion. Like, we never knew, as I said, my mother's age, but my mother had me in her 40s. And, back then it was very disgraceful,
Mm,
to have children in your 40s, because they thought all children need to be born much before you were 32, 33 years old. They thought you were getting old. And well, I came after my mother
mm,
was 40 something years old, and here I come along, the baby out of 10. But yet and still, I had something to watch. My mother showed me that age was beautiful. She lived every day as if she had something to do. She planned her life out like that. And to me, that's what I do every day. Every day I get up with a plan. And years ago I wrote a poem that talked about the strength of a woman. Originally, it was the strength of a Black woman because I was talking about my mother.
right.
But later I changed it to the strength of a
Mm,
woman, because I realized all women, any woman could get up, and having the
right.
understanding that she will never, it says she
Right.
never starts a day without a plan. That's how it all closes. And says after she buries the children, her husband, and all the things she wanted for them, to see her life being empty because what she knew about them lays in the land. But she starts her love all over again. And that's what we do. We constantly must
Mm-hmm.
live to live, not live to think that because we have a wrinkle we're dying, because the hair done fall out, all of
No.
a sudden we down to, I don't know what to do. I'm ugly. Well, excuse me. If all they want is a person with long flowing hair but an empty person inside, then go ahead. I want them to go for it. I would never have a person that has absolutely no hair and maybe one tooth I could deal with, because you can buy those things. Those things can be purchased. It's the content inside. It's who they are, and that's how I look at age. Age is
Exactly.
strictly just a number. And I was looking at some really interesting facts about age. I did that whole thing. My doctorate was really looking at how, as we get older, as we live our lives, there's many things we've gone through, just in terms of how we are learners. What kind of learners are we? And I did that for the longest time, where I was trying to explain, how you could be a learner that learns auditorially. You're a learner that learns, kinetically. You're a person that learns musically, but you're not the typical person that may learn, by reading. Because some people, it takes them a minute before they can read
Mm-hmm.
something to understand it.
Right.
Or you could be
Right.
talking to them, and because they're not well read, they may miss out on the conversation. So I try to, do the assessments and find out, well, where are these folks? How can they get to understand an understanding about who they are? And so to me, getting up every day, having a purpose, realizing that life is going to change. What you did yesterday, you may not be able to do today. But one of the things I wanted to do, and I
Right.
wanted to start off with this, talks about an article I received. I'm in a group of ladies that happen to be high achievers. They're doctors. They are writers. There's some of everything is in this group. And a girlfriend of mine led me to this group, just like she's one of my heroes. You're one of my heroes. I love people that I've just met along in my lifetime. They don't have to be on TV. They don't have to be authors, but what I find in them is that the beauty in the fact that they go and they pull somebody with them. Okay, they realize the importance of connection.
Right.
They realize the importance of acknowledging people at whatever the age they are, and that they love it. And so they sent this article to me. So I wanted to read just a few excerpts from the article. It says a director from the George Washington University School of Medicine argues that the brain of an older person is much more practical than what was commonly believed. Think about that. It says at this age, it
Say
says
it
the right.
again. Say that again.
Okay, say that again. The director of the George
Read
Washington
that
University.
again.
Okay, the director of the George Washington University School of Medicine argues that the brain of an older person is much more practical than is commonly believed. At this age, the right and the left hemisphere of the brain becomes harmonious. Okay, and it says which expands other creative possibilities. Think about that. That's why when you start looking at people when they get older, and it says they have a tendency to free up what used to take time, such as what I'm going to wear, who I'm going to see, what I'm going to do. They may still have those things, but they become less important. So they're able to tap into the creativeness of the brain. And the brain, if the neurons of the brain
Mm.
are working correctly and connecting, and it says that the brain cells of the brain do not die, as people have always thought. They said the neurons of the brain don't die; they misfire because they have nothing connected to them. So what it says you have to do is energize them by teaching them new paths. That's why they said the older
So,
person continues to have great brain
and that's
power.
probably why they say it's never too late
Exactly.
to your
Exactly.
dreams.
Right. So here's another excerpt. It says, of course, the brain is no longer as fast as it was as in your youth, nor are you physically as able as you were when in your youth. But the brain itself, it says it can continue where it can increase up to 300% more than what it was before. Can you imagine? That's powerful. So if you have words, that's power. If you have
That
an
is
idea,
powerful.
that's powerful, huh? Would you say?
It is powerful. So, if that is the case, why do you think the memory and the focus as we get older is such an issue?
It says that memory for what they call the things that might have been way back in your childhood, early life, those things become less memorable if they haven't been connected properly. And they said that there's two ways they can be connected. You can connect them as changes in your intelligence, of course, and it talks about it being one that's either fluid or crystallized. Fluid may connect some things from the past. Crystallized may look at how all these things go together and how they make it more useful for today. And it says neither one of them, because it says that they can work interchangeably together to bring you forward. So that if some people may forget why they went into a room. Okay, But that could happen as a young person too. But it says
It
as an older
can.
person, you may do it more often. You may do it more often, but it doesn't say that necessarily you won't eventually forget it totally. Sometimes you have to go back to where you had the memory and then bring it forward again.
Right.
Then bring it forward again. Then all of a sudden you can do
Right.
it. So anyway, let me get through these little points. It says, however, the brain is it has its flexibility. It says, therefore, with age, we are more likely to make the right decisions and are less exposed to negative emotions, meaning that we don't get caught up in the things that may pull us down. Sometimes we can stay higher up on stuff. That's why the wise person is the person that may tell you the wise way to go and let all the other stuff, the fighting and the
Mm-hmm.
arguing and all the things that pull you away from the real issue can be put aside.
Yeah.
And then it talks
Yeah.
about, it says the peak of the human intellectual activity occurs around the age of 70. Okay. So I'm telling all y'all out there, y'all got
Say
some
that
time.
again. It
It
peaks at
says the
70.
peak of human intellectual activity occurs around the age of 70. And it still doesn't say that the brain stops or anything, because if you're still living and you're still active, there's still some things you got to do to maintain that fluidness and that crystallizing of information. You still have to keep it going. It's still. And it says when the brain begins to function at full strength, that's when it's really doing its thing. It could be still doing it at 70, even though physically you can't get out your chair. I mean, I think that's just extraordinary. I do. I think that's an extraordinary thing. It says over time, the amount of melanin in the brain increases, a substance that facilitates the rapid passage of signals between neurons. So once again, that's that neuron thing I was talking about. It says due to this
It gives hope.
intellectual, pardon me, say it again.
What you're
I,
reading, it gives us.
it gives everybody should be hopeful by this stuff. You should not be worried so much about how you think, but and less about how you feel about getting older, because that's a lot of times where people do stuff to themselves, because then they go and they start, I need to pull this up and I need to fix this eyelid, and there's a lot of things wrong with a lot of people, and with time things change. But to me, the content of the person, the love of the person, the care of the person, that doesn't change. If the person has all those qualities,
Mm-hmm.
then all you're searching for and running after is looks, and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
looks will
And I
fail you.
believe after you reach a certain age, you realize, I think you mentioned this in what you were reading, you realize the petty stuff that we used to worry about
We can let it go.
doesn't matter.
Doesn't
You know
matter.
to let it
We can
go.
let it go.
You
We
know
can
what's
let it go.
important because as you grow older, you realize what is it saying? You have more years behind you than you
Absolutely.
have ahead of you.
But with
Yeah,
those
yeah,
with those years, Lavender, what comes with those years is experience, exposure, um, trial and error, uh, trust and
yeah.
failure. So many things come with it that you really have with an arsenal of things to live the rest of your life out with. It
Mm-hmm.
makes you
Mm-hmm.
less fearless. You're fearless as to going forward. That's why you see some people saying, you know what, I'm okay. My mother told me a year before she died, she said, when it's time to go, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go be with
Mm-hmm.
your dad. And I just thought that was horrible. But see, I still had little youngness on me, where I thought the fact that she was leaving was horrible. But she thought the fact that she was leaving, she said, listen, I am 94 years old. I'm looking at her like 94. Wow.
Tired. Eventually, you get tired.
Exactly.
Know?
And she felt that she had
Yeah.
done. It's so funny. I think it was Bud Aldrin, and in writing up my dissertation, one of the things I found out, just dealing with this multiple intelligences stuff, it really talked about the fact that when he reached an age where he had done as much as he could do, such as, going to the moon. They said when he came back, he had this thing that came over him, and it's called like a melancholy. And melancholy, is when you feel like you've done it all. You don't have any other purpose to live. Um, and I can see
Right.
people getting there. I can see people that getting there if they've had everything. If
Mm-hmm.
you had money, they had all the luxuries of life. They've traveled, they've met everybody, they've whatever. Okay, I don't want to ever get like that. I want every
They've
day
had
to
a
be my
fulfilled
adventure.
life.
Right. I want that. They thought it was a fulfilled life, and they thought that there was no other reason to live. They thought there was no other reason to live, and I'm just the opposite. I'm constantly looking at what's up, what else is out there, what else is out there, because I
Well,
don't
you know
know. I think.
what?
Go ahead.
The whole no reason to live as you grow older, you don't feel as needed. You don't feel
Mhm,
as needed by your children. You probably
mhm.
have no purpose because you have done everything, and you may not even have the physical ability to
Right.
do the things that you did when you were younger. So
Mhm,
we can read that and hear that and raw about it,
mhm.
Dr.
But
Winnie. But when you start feeling those aches and those
mhm,
pains, and you're
mhm.
looking for your glasses and you run into the bathroom, that's when reality hits. So that
Right.
and the things that you said, it's like we need to post them on the refrigerator to remember it's not
Mhm,
over just because the body will eventually break down. I mean, it breaks down and gets older every day. But I read that excerpt from Don't Let the Old Man Out. It's the mental state. So everything you
mhm,
read, that's why I said it gives me hope.
mhm. I think a lot of times too is that people, because we are a society caught up on looks. But when you go back through all the history, all societies were caught up on looks. Beauty has always been something that has been cherished. And so everyone has chased it. Everyone has felt that if they didn't have it, that there was something missing in them. And if they felt that other people had it, then they chased them, or they envied them, or they hated them. They had some kind of feeling that
Comparison.
might have been right, because there was a comparison between the two, which is sad. It's sad when you look at that. But it says, like, you have to look at the study also that was conducted, said a study was conducted involving different age groups. Young people were very confused when passing this test, while those of 60 and older were there, because their brain and decisions were different. They dealt with age differently. They dealt with understanding the importance of needing to get older, move on, live life, and not have it where they're doing nothing. um but anyway,
Mm-hmm.
the last thing it says neurons in the brain do not die, which is what I was alluding to. As everyone around sees, the connection between them simply disappears if it does not engage in mental work. So we need to constantly put something in our brains and make it work. Reading something, like
Mm-hmm.
letting the TV
Mm-hmm.
work for you, is not a good thing. You know, now if you're the one who might be figuring out how the TV needs to be hooked up to everything, and it's a new process for you, that may be a learning exercise that will certainly increase the neurons in the brain to function better. But if you're the person that's just looking at the TV after it's hooked up, then it's not going to work as well. It says
Mm-hmm.
distraction and
So you have to keep
forgetfulness.
fueling those cells.
Right. That's right. And it says distraction and forgetfulness arise due to an overabundance of information. So sometimes you do have to have a lot of it. You have a lot of information, but you have to know how to channel it. Almost like departmentalize it. One of the things it does is, I'm going to,
Mm-hmm.
tell you in a minute some of the things that they suggest that you do in order to keep your brain activity going solidly strong. It says from the age 60, a person, when making decisions, does not use one hemisphere at the same time, like young people, but both. So when you get older, both hemispheres are working, the left and right, both working. That to me is interesting, that we realize that we have power. There's power in our brains. There's power in it.
Yes.
And it says the
Yes.
conclusion of all these studies says a person they leave a healthy lifestyle, moves, has viable physical activity, and fully mentally active. Intellectual abilities do not decrease with age. Intellectual abilities do not decrease with age. They simply grow, reaching a peak of age
That's wonderful.
between 80 and 90 years of age. 80 and 90 years of age.
Wow. Wow. You know, I mentioned my father will be 85 tomorrow, and he always says that he says it in a jokingly way, I'm tired of learning. He says, I'm
Mhm.
learning more on my way out.
Right.
I'm tired, but that brain, his brain, even though him to lapse a little, he's very
Hmm.
sharp, still quick witted. And what you said about fueling those cells, if all of that happens, our fault that
Right.
we don't keep keep them charged, keep that brain
Hmm.
charged, reading a
Right.
book, doing puzzles. But we don't
Mhm.
focus on the brain for what reason we focus on the physical. And
We
I know
focus.
for
We
women,
don't focus.
it is
We don't
very
focus
difficult.
on. We don't focus on the brain. We focus on the body, and so we're so physically interested in.
Yeah.
Am I in that? Can I get in that dress? And how do I look in those pants? And is that that? And is my makeup on right? So we focus on the body, and the brain is the thing that can help the body continue to try to do its best to keep you here as long as it can to make you
But
get
isn't
to
that human
an
nature?
old age. It is human
But
nature,
isn't
surely.
that human nature to
Mhm.
focus on the physical? Because what is it? After 30, it's downhill. I mean, that sounds horrible, but
It
by
does. It says,
30, but after that, that's when gravity takes a hold. The breast starts sagging, your skin is not as soft, but
Mhm.
we had Dr. Dukes on a few weeks back talking about aging, but what we eat can also fuel the brain and help the body, help the skin, the elasticity of those private parts, all of that. There are things that we can do to help those things. Just because we age doesn't mean we have it old.
Exactly. Exactly.
But if
Sometimes
you're
we have to
not
realize
fueling
where
the
we're at.
body, yes,
Hmm.
yes. And I believe, see, and I had you on, you do the research. We're both well past 50s, but I like the fact that they call them the golden years. I'm in my golden years. They truly are golden. Now, are golden years just the 50s or is it 50s and over?
Golden years or anything probably past 50 because,
They have been the best years for me.
but because
They
you can
have.
let go
What
of
about
stuff.
you? Have you? Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I've lived the better life after 50. I have. I think I feel better. I think I look better. I think I know more. I got my doctorate after 50. And my
Mm-hmm.
doctorate after
Mm-hmm.
50. And I remember my defense, team listening to me, and they said, we have nothing to say to you. We're like almost speechless because you know this stuff. You've been all in it. And what I did is not only did I use multiple intelligences in my dissertation, but I also used activities which brought the multiple intelligence factor in there. I had the linguistics, I wrote music for it, and I had it sent out randomly to find out, well, can music certainly influence people as their selections for understanding the importance of how they transition out of the military? Well, of course, it didn't do anything. Okay. Not saying that over time it wouldn't have, because most of the other studies that were done signified that that's the way it's working, where it couldn't be a one time hear of music. It had to be over time, like the teacher that plays a certain song every day for months, that eventually when the kids don't hear it, they know the song is it's void in there because they don't hear the song and they're used to it. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. Then my
Right.
the
Right.
mind is trained to hear the song, you know. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but the last thing I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to say, the last thing it says, so do not be afraid of old age, is what this article says. Strive to develop intellectually, learn new crafts, make
Mm-hmm.
music, learn to play a musical instrument, paint pictures, dance, take an interest in life, meet and communicate with friends, plan for the future, travel as best you can. Do not forget to go to shops, cafes, and shows. Don't shut up in your house alone. It's destructive to everyone. Live with the thought all
Say that
good
again.
things. It says, do not shut up alone. It's destructive to everyone, or to anyone, excuse me. Live with the thought that all good things are still ahead of me. And that's how I live my life. All good things I feel are still ahead of me.
Yeah.
And I've already done a lot, and yeah, I've covered a lot of years, but I'm always thinking about what's next. What's next?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You're a
I
good
can't.
example, Sandy, because you keep going, you stay busy, you always are involved in something that's engaging your mind, that's challenging. You're always reading, you're doing research. I don't know how in the world you do the Are You Stuck? You're consistent with it every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday, 9 a.m. You are there. Are you stuck? I'm like, you know what? I am tired. But just watching you. And it's a good example to just always just stop moving. But
Hmm.
it begins in the brain. It begins in the brain and how we think.
And it
All those
becomes,
hopeful notes that you just gave us.
yeah, it becomes vitally important that you have to look beyond what it is you think someone has designed for you, or what you and your mind have designed for yourself. Especially if something needs to be scrapped, you need to scrap it. If something needs to be relooked at,
Yeah,
look at it again. Because some people have discovered, as I said, that they're painters, and they don't find out that they're great painters until they're 65, 70 years old, or they're good writers. That's why some of the best things that have ever been written were written not in their youth or not in their midlife, but in their elder years.
right,
That's when things are done. That's the
right.
creative aspect of just understanding, life beyond
Yeah,
today. You have to plan it.
yeah.
You have to
That's
decide who
so,
you want
it's
in it.
exciting. It's exciting. Yeah, so you mentioned they can do crafts, music, dance, paint, travel the best you can. So to even learn a new craft. I don't know if my sister is watching or Shedrick, but she has these torn and transformed workshops that she's going to start back doing. She hadn't done one since pandemic, but it's a way to engage. It doesn't require a lot of physical activity, but you use your creativity that you probably never tapped into and your mind. And to be able to create an original piece of art with no class or even writing, to
Mhm.
journal. I'm always pushing journaling. People say, "Well, journal what?" Just document your day. Document your day. We got a guy that is he was in prison for 8 years. I'll be interviewing him soon. But he journaled while he was in prison. And when he got
Wow.
out, he's publishing his book. It's releasing this month. There's another
Wow.
guy now. Now this should make people really feel bad. I'm saying it specifically to make you feel bad and get off your butt and just do something. He is on death row. He's
Wow.
on death row writing a book. So, what
Wow.
is our excuse when we are out and
Free.
about? We have the activity of, you know what I'm saying? It's like
Mhm.
engage yourself. And just because you've never written a book before, never journaled before, never done art before, why not try it? Come out of your comfort zone because
Mhm.
we can get stuck in our little comfort zone and we can age in that little box. And then
Mhm.
you're going to be buried in a box. I don't want to leave nothing on the table. Somebody said to me, "You're all over the place." No, you're in the same place. You're in the
and
same
and you
place.
watching me move about the cabin and you don't like it.
Thank you. Thank you. I got things to do. I don't want to leave anything on the table.
Right.
And gosh, tomorrow's not promised to us, but you said to wake up with a plan. Now that's something that I I guess I do it, but I don't do it. My plan is work because I work from home. That's my plan. Get up and work. Get up and work.
But
Whatever
that
we
is that
do.
is your plan. Your plan is to get up. Now, generally, I have to plan out what I'm going to do for every day because I am so busy and so committed to so
Right.
many things. People
Right.
don't even know that I'm on 3 different boards, and I'm working with the Heart Association and the Desert Food for the City. I'm on their committee, and I'm going to be president of our Rotary next year.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I
Add
am
that to your
I
plate.
thank you. I'm just busy. I'm just into a lot of things, but I love it. And
How do you maintain your energy? How do you maintain your energy?
well, part of it is what I'm getting ready to talk about is the fact that I don't eat as much as I used to eat, and so I find that because I
Is
used
that
to
by
eat the wrong.
choice?
It is by choice now. Now sometimes I want what I want, but I'm not good at being able to get it down because I years ago I had the bariatric um, bypass,
Uh-huh.
um, and it basically it takes your ability to weigh to sit around and wait on the food to come and wait on it
Girl.
to get down long enough for more to be shoved in. I don't do
Girl,
that.
that's my hobby. Eating.
I can't do that. I'm
Eating
done with
breakfast and
that.
thinking about what's for lunch.
No. And my mother would get so mad when people were eating breakfast and talking about, "Hey, mom, what we having for lunch?" That was just, oh my God, she would go off. She used bad language, but I'm not going to use any of that. But I try as best I can. I'm going to try to do a little bit better. Is move to which is what they suggest, a Mediterranean diet, which really speaks to
Okay.
having fruits and vegetables and whole grains, olive oils and olives themselves are very, very good. Looking at just lots of salad, and
Mm-hmm.
as much as you can stay away from the meats, you
Mm-hmm.
can. But if you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have meat, it should be a lean meat. But you notice and you can have the whole grain. So you could have like oatmeal and maybe a flaxseed bread, or
Mm-hmm.
breads made with grains, as opposed to, or multigrain, as opposed to um regular wheat or regular
Yeah.
white.
Yeah.
Those things have a tendency to bind us more and use more yeast, forming more yeast
Mm-hmm.
in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So those
And
are
if you don't, if you have a difficult time thinking of putting all those foods or how you're going to get those foods, I like making smoothies right before the show. I
mhm.
had a smoothie with, I just put in a handful of spinach, some frozen blueberries, some oats. What else did I put in there? Uh, what is it called? Banana, some
Oh, okay.
almond milk, and some Irish moss, sea moss. And I just blended it all up and put it down. And, it ties me over because I do like to eat. People look at me because I have a small frame. I eat.
Right.
And I know as I get older, I can't eat like I used to eat and maintain, you
Right.
know, my
But
health and
already
my
you passed
energy.
over 50 and you still got a small frame. Most of the time, havoc turns on them by the time they turn 50. All of a sudden you see people that never had a stomach or never had bigger frame than what they do. They almost look like they're uncomfortable because they've
Hmm.
never been that large before. But I
Yeah,
think that the obviously the metabolism changes, and so
it
your
does.
ability to run, you may be running just as well as you were before in terms of getting around and everything, but in terms of the body being able to rid itself of what it is that you've consumed may not be enough time.
Right,
So that
right,
may be too
right.
much sugar and too much flour and you know too much everything, too much
Yeah.
food. you know.
Because the body doesn't need a lot of food to
Right,
perform.
right,
Less is best anyway when it comes to food.
right. And getting back to my mother, I remember my mother walked between 8 and 10 miles a day. And when she ate before she left to go downstairs to guard the front door. And in her, I'm serious, in her public senior citizen building. And the people would be right. I had somebody laughing about this, but this is the truth. My mother would see them, and she'd just be sitting there with her messing with her fingernails. She had long fingernails like me. She messing with her fingernails, and she see them, and they'd still be out there talking about, let me in. She said, "You better use your key." Right there by the door, and not let them in. I said, see, you play too much, Lily. That's wrong. I would tell her that all the time. I said, Ma, that's wrong. She said they need their key. That's the way you're supposed to get in here. That's the way you're supposed to get in here.
That
She meant
is
it.
funny. That
But
is
she
funny.
walked 8 to 10 miles a day, and she ate more like a Mediterranean type diet. She had like,
Mm.
she didn't even food with milk. Okay, she ate cereal with. She was down here, and she had cereal with orange juice. I was freaking out. I said,
What?
"That's gross."
Oh my goodness.
She ate it. That's how she
Wow.
got her orange juice in and her cornflakes.
Wow.
They might have
You
been
know
wheat
what?
flakes.
Let's talk about hair thinning for a minute. Hair thinning and what's the other one that was on the flyer?
We had a lot of things. There was incontinence, hair thinning. There was something else.
That is something you were talking about.
Oh, loneliness. I'm trying to,
Loneliness,
yeah.
yeah. So with the hair thinning, you were talking about your mother and her diet. Hair thinning is not just about what we put on our scalp, but what we put
What
in
we
our
eat.
body, you
Hmm.
know. So
Hmm.
genetics plays a big part of it also. Both of my parents, father 85 and my mother 81, have a head full of hair, healthy hair.
Hmm.
So that's
Hmm.
genetics also. But what you eat, because someone asked me the other day, how does my hair, why is my hair so thick and not thinning as I ease on out of my 50s? But it's got to be what I eat because I don't do anything. I
Hmm.
don't put anything, you know, some shea butter on my hair, but it starts from the inside
It's
out.
inside out. Sure.
Yeah, but genetics plays a big part of hair loss. So just because we age doesn't
Mhm.
mean that we're going to
Absolutely.
lose our
Like my
hair.
mother, my mother and her sister, they both had the same parents, but they had
Mm-hmm.
different hair textures. My
Mm-hmm.
mother took hair texture like my mother, like her mother and her mother's mother. And my auntie, her sister, took hair like the father. So she had coarse, huge head of hair. When I tell you that she was Angela Davis
Wow.
plus anybody else, Erica Badu, big hair, she never permed it. She never permed it. She
Wow.
always had natural hair,
That makes a
always.
difference too.
And
Yeah.
she would just press it. She just pressed it with a hot comb. That was it. Nothing else was on her hair. She didn't do anything else to it except making sure that she put on a grease to make sure that she didn't singe her hair and burn it out. But her hair was always beautiful, always. And she ended up dying from cancer, but she was well put together. My mother had hair, but my mother had the long, silky, thin
Mm-hmm.
hair. So my
Mm-hmm.
mother had hair. Grandmother had long, silk. My grandmother, I remember, I used to braid her hair, and after I braided, she wanted me to roll it up like in a Bentu knot. So she
Mm-hmm.
had these big Bentus, but as she got older and it thinned, well, the Bentus got smaller and smaller and smaller, and eventually they were
Mm-hmm.
flushed against her head because
Mm-hmm.
she had a lot of hair. She had long hair, but it was starting to thin out at the roots. So, and my
Mm-hmm.
mother, the same thing. And of course, I got my mother's hair. So my hair is fine. And I'm a cancer survivor. So after my
Mm-hmm.
bout with cancer, well, the hair texture changed again and became
Mm-hmm.
even thinner than what it was before. But
Mm-hmm.
once again, I can't worry about that. Good thing I have a daughter that's a hairdresser, and so she keeps
Yeah.
mom looking presentable.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
keeps me
And the things that we can't control,
exactly.
let's
That's the thing.
control them. Now, incontinence. Now, that is something that we cannot control. They do have some medications, I
Med
guess,
medications.
to help that. But when a woman realizes when she has sneezed or laughed and would be like, oops, something happened, or you're running to the bathroom, or that's something women don't talk about. And that's why
No,
I like this platform. We all have to go through it or experience it. Why not share what to expect? Because you don't expect those things. So I remember one day, even doing the Kegel
Kegel
exercises,
exercise.
to try to keep that area strengthened. So I am coming home, I don't know, running errands, doing whatever. And I had to go, honey. I had to go. So I'm running, running to the front door, trying to get the key in the door. And I'm twisting and turning like I'm 3 or 4 years old, trying to get to the bathroom. And no matter how hard I tried to hold it, it happened. I'm
It
like,
happens.
what the hell? What is going on? But it didn't happen for months later, but it got my attention. So
Right.
I'm thinking, okay, I hope to God this is not a sign of what is to come. But you know what? Life happens. So I have a friend that's in her mid 50s. She said, girl, I don't worry about incontinence. I just get me a Depends and going about my business. Everybody doesn't have
Yeah.
that attitude, but that's
Right.
the attitude we
Right. Some
need.
some people really get upset about it because they realize
Yeah,
that they're I think incontinence and thinning hair and maybe having drier skin, those are signs that because we're all about beauty, because we're all about the external or all about the functional part of us, that when
that
we
fades.
realize that we are less functional and that
Yeah,
we are less, supple or whatever you want to call it. And
yeah.
after a while, we might be just fat and we might be just wet and we might be just bald.
I just don't want to be smelling like pee. You know how you go in the
Absolutely.
nursing?
Absolutely. And they have stuff out there for all of that kind of thing. But so far, I'm good. So far, I've not really had to deal with it yet. But I mean, it's one of those things. I know we put it on the list because it's coming. Everybody
Yeah,
will probably experience the understanding that their aging process may be different than someone
different.
else's. Someone
Yes,
else may lose
yes.
their hearing. Someone else may lose
Yeah,
their eyesight. Someone else will lose all of their teeth or at least one tooth to three teeth to
right,
8 teeth
right.
to no teeth.
Yeah.
Okay. You just realize that the body is going to change.
Ugh,
The body is
yeah,
going to change. And
yeah.
and, and it's not just us that change. Women don't aren't the only ones that change. Men change too.
Oh gosh. You know
Men
what the good
change.
part? Um, we're going to talk about this on another segment. Sex and aging. Sex
Hmm.
and aging. The good part about a woman is that you may get dry and your elasticity may be dying, but you can still perform. But a man,
Hmm.
there's a possibility that he may lose complete function.
Yeah, because
Even
there's
with the
it,
Viagra at a
right.
certain age, you just may not be able to perform.
It's a
So yeah,
brain
we got
thing
to get
too.
it.
It's brain related. So let's go back to it's how you perceive it, it's how you understand it, how you
Yes.
acknowledge it, and how you can
Yes.
handle it. Because some people
Yeah.
can't handle all of that. They can't
Right.
handle the fact that they're old and they can't perform, or that they've changed too much, where there's too many less hairs, too much space, too
Yeah.
many, too much space in the mouth. They just realize that things change. And I feel, this is me honestly, I feel that if there's something that really bothers you and hinders you to be able to feel that you're living your fullest life, then do something about it. That's on you.
Exactly.
Do something about it.
Exactly.
But you
And
don't have
going
to.
back, go
Go ahead.
ahead.
I said you don't have to broadcast it. You don't have to make it, on the top 100 list or the top five, to tell people. Because remember at one time they had the five list of people that could be in your network of phone folks, so you wouldn't you could always call them for free. Well, you
Yeah.
forget the
Yeah.
freeness. Don't tell them. You don't have to tell anybody what
Right.
you're going through,
Right.
but
But
learn to
I
live
always
life.
say, Sandy, if the opportunity presents itself to share, because the older woman is supposed to share with the
Hmm.
younger woman, not just about how to have a good home and to be a good wife, but share what you're going through as a body. Why leave them in the dark? Just, well, nobody told me. Well, I'm not, they'll find out when they get older. That's just not the right attitude. But what you were saying about men and the age. And I want to read this again from this article, Don't Let the Old Man Out. It
Hmm.
says, can I be totally transparent and honest for a moment? The same sexual desires I had as a younger man remain present in me today. This is a good article for
Hmm.
wives to share with their husbands. If you ask any older man what their thoughts are on being older and having good sex, you might be surprised at some of their responses. At this point in my life, my sexual viewpoints are more about my conscious awareness and, more importantly, about having a partner that respects me as a person and does not place unachievable sexual expectations on me. So men deal with some things that
Hmm.
we don't necessarily
Yeah,
deal with. They have their
right.
own issues. Yeah,
Do they want me? Do they still want me because I can't do this?
exactly.
And I'm quite sure a lot of marriages that broke up, I remember having a few counselees that were having trouble with that kind of thing, and one of the partners left, and
Mm,
they went over thinking that it was going to be happier on the other side,
mm,
and they wanted back what they did have with that person. And I said, well, you know what, you have to see if they're willing to take you back. You
right,
have to see, because when you left more than, you left them more than just not understanding what it is that they couldn't do, but also you left them for someone else that you thought could do it. And so
right.
so
Isn't that the
so
truth?
that's what happens, that sometimes we don't realize that it might be just the comfort of somebody and not necessarily the act. We don't have
There you go.
we
There
don't
you
have
go.
to do the
Because
act.
exactly,
We can
because
just
as you
love
grow
each other,
older,
right?
yeah, you realize that the intimacy and being able to be compatible and communication and just having good conversation with someone. You're young and dumb and you're thinking, oh, yeah, you're fine body and you got your six pack, and that stuff fades. The hair, you're bald now, the woman is thinning. So if that love and intimacy is not there and you've been saying, well, hey, the sex has been good, and then all of a sudden it's gone, what? You don't love the person anymore? And that's why
Mm-hmm.
men look for younger women. That skin is softer. They feel different. And this is all from a man. The
Mm-hmm.
woman feels different
Mm-hmm.
inside and outside. The woman will go to a younger man because the younger man can perform better.
Mm-hmm.
Not better, but can perform. So you just have to think about what your priorities are. But this is reality. It is a
Sure is.
reality, and aging is inevitable. It's going to happen. So
Yeah, it's
I would just want to
definitely gonna happen.
maintain, bottle up my youth and use it for as long as I can. But the things that you shared, the whole mental and the hope and what happens in your 60s and 70s, and we're just more wiser, and to do some things to help keep the brain engaged and to keep us active mentally and aware. The
Mm-hmm.
crafts, the music, dance, painting, friends,
I
travel.
got it, and I got a few more to give you, just so we'll before we go out. This is
Okay.
also getting enough sleep, not
Sleep.
smoking, because it says smoking has a tendency to age us. Even if this
Mm,
is, because what it is that it may be having fun with it now, but later on it comes back and shows up in how
haunt
we
you.
might looking in terms of our face, our heads, and all that kind of
Mm,
stuff. It says, but also it says limiting alcohol to no more than 1 drink per day. Don't, so that it's not, on the usual, on the everyday. And lastly, of course, is eating properly. So those
okay.
are the things that which is the Mediterranean diet. So that's what Harvard, that's a study that was done by Harvard that says that's how you stave off feeling your age into it, not into it being a period of sickness, as opposed to being a period of celebrating life, still seeing, still doing, still loving, still caring, and being a part of the society and socializing with the people that are in your community, and or socializing on media, multimedia.
So you said sleep, no smoking, limit alcohol to one drink a day, and what
And
was the last one?
eating the
Eating.
Mediterranean diet.
Okay.
And of course,
Okay.
physically exercising. That was the
Oh
first
yeah,
one.
that's a big one. That's
Yeah,
a
that
big one.
because
Even
that
to
one
just
says,
walk.
right, and that one says that lowers your heart disease, lowers the risk of heart disease. It says it strengthens the bones, promotes prevents from joints getting out of whack, and lowering blood pressure. That's
Mm,
what all those things do. So we've covered
just
it all.
move.
We've covered we got it all done. We didn't have any questions, huh, from anybody.
We've had some comments, and I just want to thank you all for tuning in. Let me see. Let me see. Miss Barbara, thank you. Donna Davis, Miss Gloria Clay and Deborah Burgess. Thank you all
Okay.
for turning in, and some others have tuned in and come in, so they're listening. This is
Okay.
not, you know what I'm saying? What
Yes.
questions are you going to ask? We know what's coming, so it's like help me to deal with it.
The
Help me to
the
deal with it.
the wonderful thing about aging is that we're still here.
We're
That's the one.
still
We're
here.
still here. We're
Thank you.
still
What's
here.
the
We keep
alternative? That's what my father says.
right.
What's the alternative
What's
to
the
aging?
alternative? The
Thank
alternative is
you.
that you in a box crispy. And
Yes.
I'm not
Crispy and
interested in
cold.
crispy, cold, and all the things I hate, crispy and cold. I hate crispy and I hate cold.
Oh my goodness.
But this has
So
been
in
wonderful. I didn't know
closing,
if anybody was here, but I'm glad that they were
yes,
here and
yes.
supported, and because I can't see anything here, so that's why I didn't know.
Okay.
That's good.
You okay. So in closing, Sandy, share with us your personal how you deal with aging in 2 minutes. Share
Okay.
with us. No, you
Okay.
got 30 seconds.
Woo! Now
The
with
short version.
with aging, I'm happy. I think that that is probably the one thing that just says that I can't ask anybody to make me happy. I have to be happy at who I am. With aging, I found a way to still find a vitalness to my life, making it important, always engaging with other people, constantly looking at the up and not the down, constantly being inclusive, and realizing that the importance of life is that we serve. And so that's what I do. And I think that with my exercise and trying to eat better, that I'm looking better as I'm going further into my old age. And I'm gonna be fine, even if I get to be as old as my mother at 90, almost 95, my
Wow.
grandmother at 96, and my
Wow.
auntie, which was my father's full sister, was 104. So if I go there,
Wow.
I still got some time, ladies and gentlemen. I got
Yes,
some
you
time.
do. And you are using it. You are using
I
it.
am
You
using
are
it.
not losing any
No,
time. You don't look like you're going to leave anything on the table, and you're
nope.
just a
I'm
good
trying to grab it all.
example
Thank
for
you.
all of us. So with the notes that you gave us, and you all shared this, share with your friends, share it on your Facebook page. Aging doesn't come easy to everyone. A lot of people um, go through a depression when they
Yeah.
turn 50 and 60, but there are some vibrant
Listen,
70 and 80 year olds out there.
the young lady that I think her last name was Chris, that jumped off the building in New York City, and she was
Yes,
Miss USA. Beautiful. So it's not about the beauty. You have to reach inside and help people understand that they are loved and that they are cared about, and you
yes,
believe in them, because that's what sometimes people need. They don't need to know that they're just beautiful.
right,
Life is beyond
right,
beauty. That's a good thing right there.
exactly.
Life goes beyond beauty.
It goes beyond beauty because beauty fades.
Beauty fades.
Beauty
Yes.
fades. So thank you all. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you,
Thank you, Dr.
everybody.
Winnie, for sharing that information with us. Aging is inevitable. And we are going to close. I have to recognize my sponsor, Attorney Robert Allen. You guys take care. And again, please share. Please share this video because it's something that we're
Welcome.
all going to experience. And you guys have a good night. Bye bye.